Hi, welcome back. It's Sue with Everyday Artisan. And if you're new here, welcome. I hope you like this video. I am going to try to answer the question that I see so often on the Alabama Chanin School of Making Stitch Along Facebook page, which is, should I stitch up my whole panel first before I do any cutting, or should I cut as I go? And with most Alabama Chanin questions, that answer depends. I like to do a lot of my stitching while I'm traveling, like on a long car ride or a plane ride. And in that case, I really don't want to do any cutting, probably because I can't take the scissors on an airplane. And you want to be really steady when you're cutting. But you also end up with a pile of stuff like this, which nobody wants in their car or under their airplane seat. It also depends on whether or not it's a negative reverse applique versus a reverse applique. I think the negative reverse is a little harder to stitch as you go, just because you're stitching outside the shapes rather than inside. I think it's easier to cut as you go if you're stitching inside the shapes. And there's another thing that I want you to think about, but I'm going to show you instead of tell you. So I am going to attempt to cut out all of the painted portions of the panel of the swing skirt that I have already stitched up. I'm probably not going to cut in a few of these areas that have really small shapes. I'm going to go to my sample thing and try and decide if maybe I want to do some stitching inside the shapes or beading even. But here goes. I've got my 2-inch Ginger embroidery scissors, and I'm just going to start cutting. Now, one of the questions I got a lot too was on your bottom edge, that's the edge that's going to be raw, do you need to do anything special? And my answer to that is no. You just start stitching as you would any other shape. I'm going around the inside of my stitching at probably about 1/8 of an inch, because you want to keep some of that paint on there, because that helps with the contrast, and it's part of the beauty of these garments, I believe. But it is as simple as that. All right, let's get stitching, or not stitching, cutting. I forgot to time how long it took me to actually in real time cut this video. The time lapse took it down to 25 seconds, but I think it was about an hour in real time. Well, I hope you all will forgive me. I had to stop to take a puppy break. She needed a little loving and attention, as we all do. But you can see I'm almost there. I still have a little bit over here and then a bunch of the small bits. But I wanted to finish up by giving you a couple of the hints I was thinking about while I was cutting. First, I can't tell you how helpful it was that before I stitched my two sides together, I went through and made these little snips so that it's much easier for me to get my scissors up underneath it. If you don't make a snip, I often pinch the two sides together and I'll pull the back side away and the top side up and then snip from there. And I noticed myself just doing that a lot while I was cutting as well. I don't know if it's psychological to try and keep myself from cutting through the back side, or if it just happens naturally, I don't know. I would probably suggest, haven't sharpened these in a while and they're not very sharp, So it took me a while. You can tell there's a lot of little places where it's not perfect. Edges end up curling anyway, so I don't necessarily try to make it perfect. I find myself, I always right-handed stitch or cut from right to left. It's really tough for me. You could tell how many times I was turning this around because I always had to have the skirt facing the way it was most natural for me to cut. I like sometimes on a long straight having something hard underneath to kind of go against. But the major thing I wanted to point out is if you wait and cut it all at once, you're going to end up with, and hopefully you'll be able to see on my thumb, I've got indent on right here and a big red indent over here on this side. It hurts, and hopefully you noticed a few times during the video I kind of had to stop and do this. So that's the benefit of cutting while you go, is your hand doesn't hurt as much. All right, I'm gonna finish up this last bit. That means I now have 2.5 panels done, and I'm excited to finish the rest. I think my next video might be, I'm going to try on my stitch sampler, like I said, some different ways to fill in a lot of these small lines. This is the Magdalena stencil, and it's got a lot of really small stems on the flowers. But I hope you join me again next time, and thanks a lot. Hi there, it's Sue. I'm just popping in real quick. I finally finished up the panel. But as I was finishing, it got me thinking, if you have any tips or tricks, would you please leave them down in the comments below, or if you know the name of a great pair of scissors that don't hurt your hand. I'd really appreciate it. All right, thank you guys. Have a great day.